All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike, as always. And today we're going to be breaking down LFA 146. Now, we're going to do this quick. We're going to do it concise because I'm going live at 9 o'clock with my guy, Eric Betts Fights, to break down the UFC card from top to bottom. So I'm going to go through this one fast. I'll be completely honest. There's not many spots I like. There's one play I already made and two that I'm waiting for to possibly make, and we'll go over those when I get there. One more disclaimer before we hop right in. There's a few fights here, I believe it's 4, where there's just not enough tape or no tape or nothing recent. So I marked it as such, and we're not going to break down those fights, and we're going to skip over them. So sorry about that. Let's jump right in. So for this first fight here, we've got Gabriela Fujimoto versus Gabrielle Campelo. Fujimoto's 0-0-0. She's making her pro debut. We don't have any of their measurables for either of these people. That's going to be something that a repeating theme during this breakdown video because it's just a case for a lot of these people. Don't forget, this is a card in Brazil. So a lot of these people are fighting at lesser known promotions where they're not necessarily showing their measurables before the fight like we're used to. Now, Campelo, she's 0-1-0. She is training out of RD Champions. And for Fujimoto, I have Sparta MMA. And yeah, I mean, the line kind of tells you everything you need to know here, right? LFA, similar to Bellator, will often try to set up their fighters, give them somebody a little bit easier so they can work their way up. Over time, they give them harder matchups for sure. But right now, early on, it's usually an easier matchup. So I'm currently pulling up the odds. All right, so Matsumoto is minus 280. No, that's the wrong. Fujimoto is what I'm looking for. So many confusing names. Okay. There it is. So Fujimoto is sitting at minus 260. Yeah, and on the other side, you got plus 200. Except those are odds for a different matchup. Okay, I just got so confused. Sorry about that. I guess that this is a replacement bout. I didn't catch that. Campelo is coming in on short notice. So I don't have a line here. I imagine that it's going to be Fujimoto who's going to open as the favorite. She was the one who's supposed to be on the card. But look, there's not much on Fujimoto, only 2 minutes of tape on her. She's making her pro debut. She does have a nice armbar, slick transition there. Her takedowns off the fence are pretty good, so she can grapple. She wings her strikes a bit. Now, Campelo, I would say, is the better striker here. Her 1-2's clean. I like her striking, honestly, for where she's at in her career. And I like the kicks, too. Now, the takedown defense of Campelo isn't great, but in the Macias fight, the first takedown was off of Campelo just doing something really weird. I can't even explain it. And then the second one was a caught kick. Now, if Campelo gets stuck underneath Fujimoto, then she may be in trouble here. I do think Fujimoto will find grappling success. I don't think this is a fight worth putting your money on, but low key, I kind of lean Campelo because I just feel like she's the better striker here, and Fujimoto hasn't shown some insane wrestling. So I'm leaning Campelo. Let's see what odds they give us, and let's move on to the next fight. All right, so this one you'll see I didn't have popped up. That's because there's no information on these two, particularly on Minotto. So we're going to be skipping that one and moving on, like I mentioned before. Now, next up, we've got Levi Rodrigues versus Leonardo Genuino. Rodrigues is 1-0, undefeated as a pro, 26 years old, and he's 6'2". I have him training out of Spartacus MMA. On the other side, you've got Leonardo Genuino. He's 3-1-0. Don't have his age. He's 6 feet tall, so he's 2 inches shorter here. And he's training out of Libertas Esportes de Combat. Now, if I remember correctly, this is also a short notice replacement. And yes, so the odds aren't even out yet for Genuino. Hard to really know where he's going to be at, but I kind of like him in this fight. I'll tell you guys that. I feel like Rodrigues is kind of this power striker, but he's really sloppy. The combinations are meh. Everything's loopy. Clearly has the power, but he's super hittable as well. Good forward pressure. Got to give him that. But He's normally getting quick finishes. 30 seconds is what we're talking about here. We haven't seen him extended. Now, on the other side, you got Genuino. He's nothing special either, but he's moving his head. His 1-2 is good. I like the jab. I like the striking quite a bit. There's not much tape on him either because most of his fights end early. But I low-key think Genuino's the better striker here. Neither of these guys is going to look to grapple. At least that's not something they've shown throughout their careers. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what the line is on Genuino. And then if it's good, if it's decent, I'll play it. I would like dog money before signing up for that. But we'll move on to the next fight. Here we've got Reginaldo Jr. versus Marcos Zinhani. Junior's 5-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 23 years old, 5'10", and yeah, we're going with Arena Extreme for his gym. On the other side, you've got Zinhani, 5-1-0. He's 30 years old, 6'1", and I have him training out of Puro Impacto. So this one is actually one that kind of has me scratching my head. Reginaldo Jr., I believe, if I remember correctly, he's like a minus 300 favorite against Zinhani. Yeah, he is. And the comeback on Zinhani is plus 240. And I just think it's a little silly because if you look at the tape and you watch them, Junior is not that good of a striker at all. He has a decent jab. He doesn't really throw much else. He's really lacking in the combinations. One knockout win in his entire career. And, in his last fight, he got hit a lot. And throughout his fights, it's kind of a repeating theme. He is getting hit. I don't love the way he backs up. His own wrestling, see, that's where it comes in. He's the wrestler. That's why he's such a heavy favorite. He's a good grappler. He's great. He has a really nice double leg takedown. His submission skills are on point. 3 submission wins, 2 triangles, 1 arm triangle. He is 7 years younger here, whereas Zinhani is going to be 3 inches taller. Apparently, Junior has a kickboxing record of 19-1, but if you watch him strike, I don't believe that personally. So, long story short, I think that Zinhani's the better striker without a doubt. I think that Reginaldo Jr. is the better wrestler without a doubt. I think that more than likely Reginaldo Jr. will get his grappling off, be able to control the fight, probably win by decision. I kind of like, I say this meaning like I kind of like him. Like I think he might win the fight. Doesn't mean I'm going to play him. Remember, when I make my plays, my official plays, I post them on my Twitter at Couch Warrior Pod. The handle's right here in the video. And I also put them on my Bet MMA page. So, yeah, I think that Reginaldo Jr. should win this with the wrestling. But if they remain on the feet, I think that Zinhani is going to be alive. I think Zinhani is the better striker. He's got the straighter strikes, better output. He uses that length very well. So I can't help but like Zinhani. I'm not going to play it because there's that grappling edge for Junior, because Zinhani has shown some pretty bad takedown defense. In his most recent fight against a guy who's not very good, he was getting taken down. So I do expect Junior to kind of run through him. But if we remain on the feet, I think it's going to get close. So I don't want to bet it either way. Now, like I mentioned before, if anyone's popping in now, I see we got a few new people. So there's a few fights here where there's like zero information on one of the sides. For those fights, because there's nothing for us to really do, we're skipping those. I wrote them down. I'll be pointing them out. So just keep that in mind. Now, Bianca Saddlemeyer versus Julia Polastri. That's one of them. Very little tape there on Saddlemeyer. I don't have anything for her since 2017. She hasn't fought since 2019. And it seems like a pretty clear setup fight for Julia Polastri, who is a Dana White Contender Series alum. She is sitting at minus 500. Comeback on her opponent is plus 375. But we're not breaking that one down. Just not enough info. It's probably a setup for Polastri. Janina Silva versus Nayara Hemley is another one of those fights where I just do not have enough information. Hemley hasn't fought since 2017. So that tape would be useless. I'm not going to be breaking down this fight. And now we're going to move on. Unfortunately, we have once again a case of not enough info. So for this one, it's Texera that we don't have enough on. I don't have any tape on him since 2016, and that's literally his pro MMA debut. So it's impossible to make a bet here. It's impossible to be confident on either side. We're going to be skipping this one. All right. Now, finally, I don't think there's any more fights that we have to skip. Here we've got Luana Santos versus Waleska Sousa. Santos is 3-1-0. She's 22 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, and I've got her training out of Team Lucas Monero. On the other side, you've got Waleska Sousa. She's 4-1-0, 25 years old. She's 5'4", so she's 3 years older, 2 inches shorter. I do not have a reach for her, and yeah, I mean, this is another one where I think it's a setup fight for Santos. Santos has really solid Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Sousa has abysmal takedown defense and has a hard time getting up. If this somehow remains on the feet, I think it's probably going to be super close. Santos, I still think, is the better striker. She throws more. Her strikes are more straight. She puts together nice combinations. She's pretty hittable herself, but so is Sousa. And like I mentioned, whereas Santos has good grappling, nice offensive trips, Sousa has terrible takedown defense. Santos also better competition. Fought Bishop in her last fight. Bishop, we just saw her win not too long ago. Also on the LFA. So, yeah, I like Santos here. It's absolutely unplayable at these odds. I mean, you really just can't play this. Minus 300 on Santos, plus 240 on Sousa. The line opened on Santos at minus 180. So if you got that, you are good to go. But unfortunately, we can't play it. So we're going to be passing on that fight. But I do think that it's going to be Luana Santos picking up the dub. All right, next up, we've got Felipe dos Santos versus Hugo Paive. Dos Santos is 6-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 22 years old, 5'7", and I've got him training out of Shootbox Diego Lima over with Charles Oliveira and the gang. They've been doing great. I mean, other than Charles losing the belt, but it's forgivable. That was Islam Makhachev. On the other side here, we've got Hugo Paive. He's 5-0, undefeated as a pro as well. 24 years old. He's 5'5", so he is 2 years older, 2 inches shorter, and he's got a 69-inch reach. For Dos Santos, I could not get a reach. Yeah, this one was a fight where I was going back and forth. I thought I was going to play Paive because Paiva's wrestling is pretty good. He's pretty solid on top. And we saw Dos Santos kind of really struggle with the wrestling against Marcos Degli. I mean, he was just getting dominated in that fight, getting taken down until he got a triangle choke. He's got 3 submission wins. He does like to use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu to scramble, but he does make me nervous with the defensive grappling. Now, I also wrote this in my notes. I was like, look, why are you worrying so much about his defensive grappling when we barely even seen Paive shoot? He almost doesn't shoot. Now, in terms of the striking, who's better? They're both pretty hittable, not the most defensively sound fighters. Dos Santos, I think, is throwing more straight. He's got a good jab, a nice front kick, nice 1-2, good combos, mixes in elbows, which I love. For Paive, not as many combinations. He's using the jab, way too little. Nice body kicks. He does go to the body with his punches nicely. The combinations look solid when he's actually using them. But yeah, I like Dos Santos here. I do think he's going to keep the fight on the feet. If he gets taken down, I think he's going to scramble back up. And I think he should be able to win these striking exchanges. It's funny how you can go back and forth so much while watching tape, because I almost said like it's for sure Paive before, and then I kept going, and ended up picking Dos Santos. I am waiting for his line. It's currently plus 155 and moving the other way. And it's interesting because he opened as a minus 210 favorite, and the public disagreed. I agree with the bookies, but I'll be playing Santos. Now I'll be playing him as an underdog, so that's cool. And we'll move on to the next fight. All right, for this one, we've got Carlos Prates versus Maocir Rocha. Prates is 14-6-0. He's 29 years old. And I've got him training out of Christian Nogueira Muay Thai. Rocha on the other side is 12-6-1. He's 29 years old as well. Also 6'3". And I've got him trading out of Babuino Gold Team. Sorry if I butchered that. And these are two guys who are very, very, very similar. So I am a bit surprised that Prates is minus 400, whereas Rocha is plus 300. They're both very similar strikers. Both have a good jab. Prates, I would say, is better in the clinch. He's got good knees. I think his combinations are better, but he's not using them enough. Both guys don't have the best output, um, but both guys are throwing straight. Both guys are throwing down the pipe. Now, Rocha does have tall man defense. Four times he's been knocked out. He's only got 3 knockout wins of his own. Whereas for Prates, it's 9 knockout wins and 2 knockout losses. The takedown defense for Prates is good. Not that Rocha is really shooting. I don't expect that here. He does have 6 submission wins, whereas Prates has 3 sub losses. But I just think Prates is the better guy all around. Like I said, they're very, very similar. I just think that Prates is one step above. I don't think he's playable at minus 400. I think that's a bit ridiculous. This could very well end up being close. So I am not going to be touching this with a 10-foot pole. I do think Prates wins. If you insist on betting it, maybe in a parlay, that's what I would do. But I do not condone that action. Now, my guy Eric bets fights in the chat. Thank you for tuning in, Eric. Me and Eric are going to be going live in just over a half hour to break down UFC. So make sure to tune back in on the channel to watch that. And yeah, I'm going to pick it up a little bit because I have to go do some stuff before I go live for UFC. Now, for this fight, we've got Matsumoto versus Inaildo Santos. Matsumoto is 11-0, 5'6", and I've got him training out of whatever it says here, inside Muay Thai. Couldn't find anything else. For Santos, he's 9-1-0, 26 years old, 5'4", so he's 2 inches shorter here. Training out of Corinthians MMA. So I'll be quick. I liked Santos. I played him as a dog, and I'll tell you why. It's because I don't really think much of Matsumoto. I don't necessarily understand this line, why he's minus 300. If you're going to have such a heavy favorite, how they should be dominant in that fight. And where in this fight is Matsumoto going to dominate? Unless I'm completely missing something, he's not the better striker. Maybe by a little bit, but not by any margin. I think it's close. He might throw a little bit more straight, but Santos is a good striker too. Good 1-2. I really like him in the pocket. The combinations are there, mixes targets. And Matsumoto also starts super slow. I hate that. Now, in terms of wrestling, I don't have much information on Matsumoto in terms of his defensive or offensive wrestling. He does have 4 submission wins, but Santos, nice trips. He got a good one in round 2 of his last fight. His takedown defense isn't amazing, but he can get himself back up. And it's not like Matsumoto is sitting here grappling all the time. So I actually do like Santos. It really comes down to the price tag not making sense to me. Me thinking this is a close fight. And even if you gave me this at Pick'em, I would still probably play Santos. Maybe I'm really missing something here, but I like Santos. I think he's got a better output as well. So I played him at, I want to say plus, tell you guys right now. So I played him at plus 240, and he's now plus 220 already. Look at me moving lines. I wish. But yeah, I like Santos, and we're going to keep going. All right, so for this one, we've got Felipe Douglas versus Rangel Desa. Douglas is 25-0. He's 30 years old, 5'10", and I have him training out of Vale Top Team. Desa on the other side is 11-2-0. He's 26 years old, so he's 4 years younger here, 5'8". He's 2 inches shorter, and I've got him training out of Refit Pro Fighters. So Desa is interesting because his last fight was against Gabriel Bonfim. Is he the smaller one? I'm not remembering. It was against the smaller Bonfim, lower weight class. I mean, it was a pretty good fight. You know, Bonfim was the better man. He clearly won that fight in the striking exchanges. But Desa made it close. He made a good account of himself. And I went into this fight remembering that and thinking, all right, as long as Douglas isn't some killer, I'm probably going to play Desa. The line doesn't seem too bad. And then I started taping it. And, like, my issue is I still think Desa can win this fight. I think he's the better striker. I like his combinations. I like the 1-2, the jab. I like how everything's right down the pipe. Nice body kicks. He's good in the pocket. And whereas Douglas, you know, he's a little bit more hooky on the feet. He mixes targets pretty well. The 1-2 is decent when he's using it, and I do like his combinations when he's finally putting it together. But he's really striking strictly to get into that grappling range. He loves to wrestle. Douglas is a grappler. He's one of these high-output wrestlers, and I expect him to really be selling out for those takedowns. I can't play Dessa without knowing what his takedown defense is if he's fighting a wrestler, and I don't know. I don't know what his takedown defense is like. I couldn't find anything on it, at least recent. So I am passing on this fight. The line right now is minus 115 Dessa. He opened at plus 160. Douglas is now minus 115, opened at minus 200. If you somehow know what Dessa's takedown defense is like and you know it's good, first of all, tell me. And second of all, I think it's safe to play him then. On the feet, I think he's going to be the better man. It's going to come down to, can he get up and can he defend? I don't know, so I can't play it. All right, and we're up to the main event of the evening. Nice and quickly, we've moved through this card. All right, so for this one, we've got Marcio Barbosa versus Gabriel Santos. Barbosa is 13-1-0. He's 24 years old, 5'7", and I've got him at the Tapology Camp Academia Reginaldo Nobre. Santos on the other side, he's 8-0, undefeated as a pro. 25 years old, 5'9", so he is 1 year older, 2 inches taller, and he does train out of Evolucio Thai MMA. Sorry, bit of a dry mouth, so I'm slipping up a little bit, but yeah, I think this fight is super interesting. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to two things: striker versus grappler. I guess that's one thing. So Barbosa here is the striker. Santos here is the grappler. Santos, the stuff he does on the ground is sick. Like his BJJ scrambles are really cool. He does really good work. It's very impressive. He can be on his back and then he'll end up on top. He's very creative. Went for a flying triangle by jumping off the fence in one of his fights. When he fought two Elvises back to back, which I think is hilarious because I've never even met someone named Elvis, but he fought two of them back to back. And the most recent one, he took his back so clean. Like, it was mad creative. His armbar transitions are sick. His striking is serviceable, is for Santos. Good front kick, good jab, but he's not throwing enough. Output isn't there. In the clinch, he's good. Good knees, nice elbows, but it's just not much. And the numbers tell you that. 1 knockout win, right? Whereas he's got 4 submission wins, never been submitted himself. He's really good on the ground. His own offensive wrestling is pretty solid. He's got a good double leg. Not the best top control. That's something to keep in mind. And in terms of his striking defense, this is what is important here because it's not good. He was getting pieced up in round 2 against this Elvis Silva character that I just told you about. And it's not a good look because you're about to fight a guy named Barbosa who throws hard. He throws well. He's technical. He's fast, and he carries power. His output is also low as Barbosa's. But I really like his striking. I like his leg kicks, the 1-2. He really goes to the body well. Nice front kick. There was one fight where he went body head, kind of Topuria-esque. Dope. Such a nice well, that didn't knock them out. That hurt them, and then he finished them on the ground. But output, like I mentioned, is low, but I just think he's the way better striker here. So the question comes down to, again, can Barbosa keep this on the feet? Can he survive these submission attempts? He's never been submitted. His takedown defense did look good in that Luis Felipe fight. He can be taken down, but then he pops back up. So I don't know if I'm going to get to a bet here. I know that I don't want to bet Santos at minus 140. Now, do I want to bet Barbosa at plus, what is it? Plus 110? I would like a better line because I don't have all that much information on his grappling. He's fought pretty terrible competition for the most part, worse than Santos in my opinion. So it's really hard to know for sure what his grappling is like. But if this is on the feet, I think it's Barbosa all day. If grappling is mixed in, I think Santos probably takes it by decision. But all right, guys, that's it. That's an LFA card, LFA 146. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going live in just in 20 minutes pretty much to break down the fights with Eric for UFC 260. Oh my God. For UFC Vegas 64. So make sure to catch that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a good one and good luck.